Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Rapid Recap here on the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. With me, as always, is Steve Marik. I'm Zack Carpenter. Steve, it's good to be back out here.
I know, right? We're back on the football field.
You didn't realize that we were going to be coming out here today onto the field.
That's why I didn't bring a coat.
Yeah, none of us did. I brought my coat because I was trying to prepare. I don't know where Jansen, our digital producer, content extraordinaire, that's his unofficial official title. But yeah, we're out here at Memorial Stadium. It feels like it's been 8 years since we've been out here. It's a little windy. It's like 50-some degrees, gray, windy, but it's like it feels like football weather.
But
almost. Feels like fall weather.
But the future of Nebraska football is bright.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God. All right, we might do a second take. So Jansen, edit the dad joke out. Steve's a dad. Steve's a dad now, so he's just trying to practice for the dad jokes later. But National Signing Day. Press conference today with Matt Rhule on National Signing Day, which has become 90 to 95% obsolete in college football. You get a guy here and there, but most of the class, I think I saw a number the other day that really, I think it was somewhere between 90 and 95% of scholarship spots or teams roster spots are filled up in the recruiting class during the December early period. So it's like a lot of the stings taken, a lot of the venom is taken out of this day. Last year we saw a group of guys, but today it was just two of them. Defensive end Keona, Wilhite, and safety defensive back Prescott.
Yep, Kahmir Prescott.
You talked to Keona.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you want to share, most interesting takeaway from that.
Well, UCLA was sitting in the lead for a pretty long time with Keona after he originally decommitted from, where was it?
Washington.
Arizona. Washington. Signed his letter of intent with Washington. Kalen DeBoer leaves to go coach Alabama. Keona Wilhite wants to release from his letter of intent with the University of Washington. He gets it. He goes on an official visit with Michigan State. He goes on an official visit with Nebraska.
I wrote the analysis piece that we put up on Inside Nebraska today, and over the last few days, the more I sort of research and watch his film and just analyzing him, the more I liked him, the more I'm like, I feel like this guy could be an early impact guy. Maybe not. Maybe it's not the same situation as a Cameron Lenhart because, Cam was the first true freshman defensive lineman in Nebraska history to start season opener or start multiple games. So may not be the same thing, but he comes from a similar background as far as coming from South Point Catholic, a powerhouse in Arizona, just like Cam came from a powerhouse in IMG Academy. So I know Matt Rhule is excited about him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the exact quote right on Wilhite. He said, "I just think when you're that big and athletic, it's a no-brainer to take him. If you can rush the passer, if you can take the ball away, I'm always going to take a chance on you." So exciting add to this class.
Yeah, and Wilhite, he's coming into Nebraska 6'5", around 235 pounds. He's that traditional defensive end, hand in the dirt, but he could probably play some stand-up defensive end too, and he's probably going to be doing a little bit of both, especially in Tony White's versatile 3-3-5 defense. And what I like about Keona most is just he wants to stay focused, and that was what a big reason for coming to Nebraska is what he told me over the phone. After everything with Chip Kelly and UCLA and Chip Kelly acting like he maybe wants out of Los Angeles, that's when Nebraska kind of came in and said, hey, we're a pretty good option too, and I think Keona realized that too. Really good job by Tony White, defensive coordinator, and then defensive line coach Terrence Knighton to get Keona White's commitment here. But yeah, 6'5", 235, he's a great prospect, and he's not going to have the benefit of playing spring ball. He's going to get into Lincoln in May, I believe he told me, so he's not going to be here for spring ball, but who knows if he comes and hits the ground running in Lincoln. Matt Rhule and Tony White and Terrence Knighton have shown that they're able to play young guys who deserve to be out there. Riley Van Poppel was one of those examples last year as a guy who wasn't here for spring ball, showed up in the summer, and now he's out there playing reps against Iowa and Wisconsin. So really good stuff. Kahmir Prescott, just another defensive back. Some of these defensive backs in Nebraska's 24 class are going to, I think the vision for them down the road is they're going to get bigger, they're going to grow, they're going to develop, and they're eventually maybe some of them will become linebackers. I don't know if that's the plan with Kahmir Prescott, but he's just another rover body that can be used in the tackle box as another run defender. I think he's fast enough. He runs a sub 11-second 100-meter dash. You can carry guys down the field on those post routes that are pretty common in the college game. So, those are the two additions that Nebraska had today, and I think they're really good additions and guys that are going to stay in the program and grow and develop and be good players down the road.
Yeah, Prescott is. I was looking at it a couple days ago. He's going to be the 18th among the freshmen, whether you're a true freshman or redshirt, and then the two sophomores in Ethan Nation and transfer Bly Hill. They have 18 defensive backs just in those two freshman, sophomore classes alone, and then 7 veterans as juniors and seniors, so 25 defensive backs. They are Wilhite and Prescott, the 29th and 30th members of this class, and we have a scholarship chart that is like
useless.
That's what I was about to say. Like 90% useless. Like I keep using
it doesn't matter anymore.
The number 90%, but I actually was thinking about it last time. Like, I actually like it because it keeps me organized. But I'm like, that's really, it's almost the only reason to have it. Like because most of these scholarships are not may not be accurate because they may be on NIL type situations or prefer walk-ons, but I mean, big class, back-to-back years, a lot of guys in the program and Nebraska's clearly over the scholarship limit right now. But Rhule talked about that toward the beginning of his press conference today, that their approach is we're not really worried about that. Like, not too
not
concerned.
right now, at least.
And he said the phrase that we always say a million times. Then he actually said it, and it's like, oh, you just did the say it one time for the people in the back quote. Like, it'll all sort itself out.
Yeah.
That's what you love, because I know Steve here feels passionately about the numbers.
Yeah, because the scholarship limit is what it is. Everybody's going to look at the 85 scholarship limit, but that's just, it doesn't matter anymore. With everything that NIL can provide a program who uses it, who has the resources available to tinker and toy with the roster. I mean, Kahmir Prescott, he was a Wisconsin commit. And, whether Wisconsin cooled in him later in December, Prescott kind of reopened his recruitment in the middle of December, a couple weeks before the early signing period. Whatever the case was, Kahmir Prescott is a scholarship. He's just a recruit
scholarship caliber
player. So it's just another way of Rhule using all of his resources at the University of Nebraska to bring in as much talent as he can. Let it all work out in spring ball and fall camp, and whoever's there at the start of the season is your team. So, maybe that means some players who are holding scholarships right now might not have them, come game time. But that's just the way life is going to be from now on in college football. A lot of people are going to be using the NIL to their advantage and kind of tinkering and toying and building their roster while using that as a tool.
And two of the things that, 2 points sort of jump to mind that I'd written about is, you get a guy like a Kahmir Prescott, and if you're a guy like that, number one, if you're coming in, whether or not he's a scholarship or a preferred walk-on, just using Prescott as an example, whether or not he's scholarship or walk-on doesn't really matter for the sake of this conversation right now. If you come in as a walk-on, you saw just last year that Matt Rhule and this staff is willing to put walk-on guys into starting roles or to put them on scholarship. Like, that they're not full of doggy doo-doo when they say, like, hey, you can earn a scholarship here, like, you could be an impact player. Like, you just saw it. And I think they had 3 former walk-ons as starters just on the defense alone last year. And you also know, Prescott was a receiver, return man, and used him as a runner. So there's always a plan B, I feel like, with so many of these guys, especially if you come in as a receiver or a corner, linebacker, what have you, that bring you in as an athlete, and you always know there's going to be a plan B, like, hey, you're going to come in here, we're going to try to develop you as a corner, safety, defensive back, whatever. If it doesn't work out, try you at receiver, and we're going to see if that's the path forward for you. So there's always a plan B, and there's always a proof of concept, I think, for some of those guys. Moving on real quick, this will be the last point that we make. I had a whole outline planned, and that's like, let's get into this discussion more, because this is interesting on a National Signing Day here. But the other sort of headline from today's press conference is, it's not new necessarily, because Rhule took this steadfast.
Already said it?
Yeah, he said it in November.
Yeah.
Just taking a steadfast stance on Marcus Satterfield and his role. Obviously, bring in Glenn Thomas as the co-OC and quarterbacks coach, but when Rhule was asked about who's calling the plays? Do you sort of have a feel for that yet? And when that question was asked, I like kind of perked up. I'm like, yeah,
Sure.
Do you
Sure.
have a plan yet?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they do. Rule's a man with a plan. So he just took a steadfast, Marcus is my offensive coordinator. He's calling the plays. Like there was no confusion or disalignment or anything. It's like, here it is. Like Glenn's going to be collaborating on the play design and the structure of the offense, but Marcus Satterfield's the OC who's going to stand at the front of the room, and he's the one who's going to call plays on game day.
Yeah, and Rhule was pretty happy that he now has a quarterback coach who can just stay in the quarterback's room, talk to his guys, and not have to worry about devising a game plan or calling plays on game day. He can just focus on the quarterbacks because that position just warrants a guy just to be the teacher and be the leader of that group. So, really important that they bring Glenn Thomas in, especially with 3 scholarship quarterbacks, 2 of which are true freshmen who have never taken a snap in college game, and then also Heinrich Harburg, who played some and had some highs and lows last year. But yeah, we should probably, before we get out of here, talk about who's going to be out for spring ball, because I think that's kind of going to be important.
Run through them.
Yeah, so let's run through them right now. So this isn't a complete list. Rhule is just kind of going off his memory, but Turner Corcoran, who had that foot injury last year against Northwestern, I think it was, he is not going to be competing in spring ball at all, and Rhule said that might even bleed into a little bit of fall camp or maybe even the season, so we'll keep our eye on that. Ramir Johnson and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda both out for spring ball as well. Ramir Johnson had that dislocated shoulder against Northern Illinois that kept him out the rest of the season last year. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda had the ACL injury in the season opener at Minnesota last year, so both those guys out. Princewell Umamialan, Malachi Coleman, they're dealing with a little bit of shoulder issues from off-season. I don't know if it was surgery or not, but Matt Rhule wasn't really sure how much spring ball those two, Princewell and Malachi, are going to be competing this year. So we'll keep our eyes on that one as well. And then the last one, Maverick Nunan, who suffered a knee injury that kept him out all of his true freshman season last year. Matt Rhule said he is back and in the swing of things and looking good out there. So Maverick Nunan adds a little kind of intriguing story note to the defense and maybe the jack room too.
I said this, Greg and I were on a rapid recap after, I think, midweek press conference, and I completely randomly, not completely, but mostly randomly, I made a mention of Maverick Nunan because it sort of popped in my mind, and I had talked about in the spring how he was probably going to be a guy who wouldn't see much action as a freshman on that defense. Needed a little bit more time to sort of develop, and then we're sitting there mid-year, and all of these freshmen, true freshmen, had played roles gotten significant snaps on the defense. I'm like, all right, so I just want to make a point real quick that this is what I said back then. I was like, if Maverick Nunan would have been healthy, he would have gotten snaps and had a real role, I think, in that defense. So fast forward to now, really excited to see him in spring ball and see what he'll look like with his role, because that spring game, if you remember him, he looked sharp. He was chasing down whoever the quarterback was on the offense. But he's a guy who'd probably make a little countdown on a top 50 or so most intriguing Huskers before spring ball, wouldn't you say? I think that's all I had. Didn't you say Gabe Ervin? He had an update on Gabe Ervin.
I didn't think he said Gabe Ervin's name, but we need to go watch that back.
He said
a lot of stuff happened.
He said Ramir and Gabe, but it was probably similar to Ramir update, because
honestly, it would be surprising if Gabe Ervin was out here for spring ball after the dislocated hip last year. I think it'd be maybe smart to stay out of spring competition with him and see what he looks like in fall camp, but we don't know for sure.
I don't think we had any other notes. Matt Rhule talked about a lot today, as he always does. It's refreshing to get back into the swing of things of a Matt Rhule press conference where he unloads a lot of information. Jamal Banks is showcasing himself as a leader, front of the room type of leader. We had some other updates. He talked quarterbacks about Dylan Raiola, Heinrich Harburg, and Daniel Kalen, which you can check out that press conference video on the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel.
That Rhule said that he's kind of riding right now with his quarterback room, so that's 2 true freshmen in there. But don't be surprised if May comes around and Nebraska is looking in the transfer portal for a veteran, older quarterback guy just to add him in there for a 4th scholarship quarterback. I think that's kind of going to be a storyline moving forward here. But Matt Rhule said he's going all in with the young youth movement in the quarterback room right now. So all eyes on Dylan Raiola, obviously.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch the growth and
It's gonna be
progress.
interesting.
It's gonna be. There's gonna be some growing pains.
Oh, yeah.
There's gonna be growing pains. There's gonna be interceptions. There's gonna be off-target throws. But that's sort of the growth process when coming as a true freshman, expected to, turn a storied program around and win the national championships and things like that. You're gonna have some pressure on your back, and it's not always gonna look perfectly clean, but. I could go down a road for 20 minutes on a little monologue here about all of that. Luckily for you guys, I won't. So we don't want to have that skip rate skyrocket at the end of the video. But you can check out, again, the Matt Rhule press conference video from today at Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Check out our work on InsideNebraska.com. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get these videos dropped directly into your feed. So for Steve Marik, I'm Zack Carpenter, and we'll catch you guys again next time.